playoffs? We're talking playoffs. Yes, we are talking playoffs on this edition of Ravens Rundown. Tyler Jones here. Thanks for joining us. With the Baltimore Ravens now taking over as the number one seed in the AFC following the Kansas City Chiefs loss to the Philadelphia Eagles last night. We will tell you what it's going to take not only for the Ravens to make the postseason, to win the division, but also to be the number one seed in the AFC as we enter the final stretch of 2023 here on this edition of Ravens Rundown. Before we get to all that, though, if you want the Ravens to hang on and get that number one seed, like today's video. Don't jinx it. Don't make me come find you because you didn't like today's video. Hit the like button. Don't be that guy that didn't like the video and causes the Ravens not to get the one seed. Hit the like button, and we'll continue here on today's show. So here is how things stack up in the American Football Conference now. The Ravens have the number one overall seed at 7-3. Kansas City gets handed the loss to Philadelphia. They fall to the 2 seed at 7-3. Jacksonville at 7-3 as well. They're the 3. And then the Dolphins at 7-3 as well as the 4 seed. Meanwhile, the wild card picture, you can see a couple of AFC North teams in the equation with Cleveland at the 5 spot at 7-3. The Texans at the 6 spot, 6-4, and the Steelers at the 7 spot at 6-4. So although the Ravens have that number one spot, things are still very close. Buffalo on the outside looking in among other teams as well. The Ravens at 8-3, first place in the AFC North, are in a very good spot right now. And based on the way I look at where things are at and the trends that we've seen over the last few years when it comes to this 17-game schedule, I believe that 13 wins locks you up the number one seed in the AFC. Now, you might get there with 12, potentially speaking, but I feel like you can confidently say that if you get to that 13 number, which would mean winning 5 out of your final 6 games, you are going to be the one seed in the AFC for sure. Now, with that said, I think there's a few must-win games for the Ravens in this final stretch. Beginning Sunday night against the Los Angeles Chargers. No reason why you should be losing to that lowly Chargers team there on the road there. That's a game you have to win. Then you take on the Rams. You get them at home. I know the Rams just had a nice win against the Seahawks this past week, but the Rams you should not have any issues with. I mean, you compare those rosters, the Ravens are a lot better football team than Los Angeles is. And then the Steelers, I think, the last week of the season, I mean, you could be playing for a lot of things. The division, the number one seed, whatever it is, against a rival team who you've already lost to earlier this year. You have to win that football game. No ifs, no ands, buts about it. You got to go in there and you got to take care of business to get the Steelers. Those are the 3 must-win games. We'll go over the rest of the schedule here in just a moment. But what will the Ravens' final record be? It's our pinned comment today. Weigh in the comment section. Tell me what you think the final record for Baltimore will be. Now, as the Ravens enter this final stretch, it is going to be difficult. The folks at Tankathon say that the Ravens have the 5th toughest schedule remaining of any team in the National Football League at 58.3% win percentage of their upcoming opponents. And for me, there's a few toss-up games in particular to keep in mind over this next stretch. You go to December 17th to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday Night Football. And that Jags team, Trevor Lawrence and company, we know they have a good defense. That will not be an easy contest there on December 17th. Then you follow it up Christmas night. You take on the San Francisco 49ers on Monday Night Football. The Niners, one of the best teams in the NFC. It's a home game for them. That's a difficult battle to try to get that job done. That's a toss-up game that could really go either way, and most likely you'll probably be an underdog, actually, on the road in that game. And then the Miami Dolphins. I know the Dolphins have not fared well against teams that are evenly matched or better than them throughout this year, but that offense is so explosive with Tua and Tyreek Hill and Waddle and company that you can't take them for granted. I mean, hell, we saw them win in Baltimore last season. The AFC North, got to take care of business in the North first before we figure out about the Ravens getting that 1 seed. The Browns are sitting at 7-3. Pittsburgh at 6-4. Cincinnati at 5-5 right now. And the thing that I'm watching for that has my attention is the quarterback situations of the other teams. I'll explain that here in just a second. But first, today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. Go to prizepicks.com/SteelItS for a $100 deposit match. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Very simple, folks. You choose 2 or more players on any given category. You get the choice of more or less when playing with Prize Picks. And here's what I'm going with. A little college football action this week. I got Kyle McCord, the Ohio State quarterback, to have less than 255.5 passing yards. Look, Connor Stallions already gave Michigan all the signals. They know how to slow down Kyle McCord. He's not getting that many passing yards. Drake Stoops, son of the legendary Bob Stoops there with the Oklahoma Sooners. I like him a lot. He has had a nice career for OU, but I'd be hard-pressed to imagine him having more than 86.5 receiving yards against TCU. If both these things hit, I'm putting $20 down. I'm winning 60. Play along with me on Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. College football, NFL, NBA, and more. Promo code CLNS for a $100 deposit match on your first entry. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Now, for the Ravens, as we enter this final stretch of 2023, the next test for this team is going to be how do they fare without Mark Andrews. And you can't just replace Mark Andrews with one guy. It's going to be a collective effort. A lot of attention, of course, is going to be on Isaiah Likely. But I think the Ravens are going to be okay. Much better off than they were had this happened last year if Mark Andrews would have been out for a long period of time last year. Look at these statistics here of what we're going to show you right now. You got Zay Flowers leading this team in receiving right now. More yards than Mark Andrews has this year, 588. He's got 1 touchdown. OBJ had his best game since joining the Ravens last week, and I know that there was an injury that he suffered to his shoulder at the end of last week's game, but sounds like he's going to be okay. Nelson Aguilar has been very good at times, and we've seen him play at a high level at different points throughout this year. And there's still Rashad Bateman. He hasn't gone anywhere either. So with that said, I still like what this Ravens team has to offer, what they bring to the table here. To me, this is a team that can still get the job done, even despite not having Mark Andrews there. Your upcoming schedule: Chargers this upcoming week, Rams after that, then the Jags. And it's that stretch afterwards. Once you get past these two, Jags, Niners, Dolphins, Steelers, it's not going to be easy. But I think the Ravens, ultimately, at the end of the day, they're going to be in good shape. This is something they should take care of. And think about this. The number one goal is to get the division title. That's what you got to do first. And when you look at where the Ravens are at compared to the rest of the teams in their division, the big advantage they have is those teams don't have quarterbacks. Sean Watson's out for the year. Joe Burrow's out for the year. Kenny Pickett's a fraud. That, to me, is huge for this Ravens team comparing themselves with the rest of this division. Now, as far as getting the top seed goes, Kansas City is still a problem. Miami, still a very good football team. The Jags, we'll see how they fare when they face up here in a couple weeks. And think about it this way, too. You end up winning this division here, and you get that number one seed. You ask, how important is getting the number one seed if you're Baltimore? Well, it's essentially a playoff win at that point. That, to me, is why it's so important here of getting to that 13-win milestone to get that number one seed. You don't have to play in that first round. Everybody else does. You make your life a whole lot easier on yourselves here. And the odds stack up and say that the Ravens have a very good shot when it comes to the division right now, about 225, according to our friends at BetUS right now. So we'll see how things stack up, but I'm feeling really good about where this Baltimore Ravens team is at. Down to this final stretch, the run to the playoffs is on. It's a good time to be a Baltimore Ravens fan. Let's get ready, folks. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks for joining us here on this edition of Ravens Rundown. And we will see you right back here later on this week. Got a great watch party coming up this weekend you will not want to miss out on. and we will see you next time right here on Ravens Rundown. Thanks for joining us.